Florida State fan Phil, we see your comment. I have posted it here. I am going to spin this comment into a more legitimate comment this way. Okay, there's one commit. I don't think this is a big issue. I don't think it's a big concern. Miami's been recruiting well under Manny Diaz. They're in play for tons and tons of 4 and 5 stars, in particular, tons of 4 stars. I will ask this, though. When does that become a concern? Because I'm looking at commitment lists. Well, you're the recruiting guy, but I do look at a lot of recruiting just in terms of numbers. In terms of giving it context, I can't scout people and I don't get into the granular, but I do look at commitment lists like almost every day. And I do notice that most of the major schools are more in that 4 to 6 range of commitments right now.
Yeah, this has been actually a question that I wouldn't say fractures the Miami fan base, but there's definitely 2 different thoughts on it. And Phil's comment, if you're podcasting this or whatever later, is that Miami is 73rd in the country right now with only 1 commit, and UCF is higher than them. Phil, and also I get, okay, Travis Hunter is a monster. He grew up as a Florida State fan. I think it would be a stupid decision for him to go there, which I said, a month ago or whatever. If you believe about silent commits, then I got a bridge in Mississauga, Montana to sell you, bro. Because silent commits, more often than not, don't end up going where they were silently committed, because if they were going to go there, they would be publicly committed. There's a wide receiver who ended up at Georgia who I know for a fact gave 3 different schools, including Miami, a silent commitment. There's been plenty of other guys who were silent commitments to various places, including Miami, including Florida State, including insert team here. So I'm not going to push back on Travis Hunter's committed, Santino Marchiol, and whoever else is committed. Fine, cool. That is true. But if you're banking everything on silent commits, then you're banking in lies, fairy tales, and fantasies, pretty much. Back to the question at hand. When does the fact that Miami only has 1 commit become an issue? It's not right now, but it's relatively soon. For me. Some people are saying, hey, just trust the process of recruiting, see what happens at the end. And a lot of people check out on recruiting because it's all the time. It's 365. These kids go places, they say things, they play these camps, they do these interviews, they do all this stuff, they do the virtual, all these kind of different things. So some people would say, I don't want to be in it the week to week. I want to check in towards the end. I'll read the recaps, the recruiting notebooks or whatever it is, and I'll get to know the new players who are coming onto my favorite team. There's also those of us who follow it all the time. So, Phil, 7 in a row is not right now. We had a 6 streak before that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not current. And if you're talking about Miami fans living in the past, fine. Live in the present. What have you done recently? You've lost to Miami 4 years in a row with 4 different quarterbacks, including by 6 touchdowns this last year. And that could have been that was the biggest margin of defeat that y'all have ever suffered at our hands, and was pretty much a name that score, night for us. So that's fine. You can look into the past and everything, but then, it's going to come down to the fact that we've beaten you more than you've beaten us. We've kept you from championships while winning more championships than you. So, you can go back and say the 7 in a row, but we can keep going and extend that. You know what I mean? Or we can live right now, because you want to live in the then during that 7. We're living in the 4 right now. That's going to become 5, going to become 6, going to become, you know what I mean? So we can have it either way. Anyways, let me focus. No shiny objects. As someone at the Secret Day Job says, shiny objects. I'm like, no, I'm focused on this. Anyway, I'm focused on this answer. Miami needs to see positive movement on the recruiting trail, I believe, sooner than later. Because if you go into the late summer with only 1 commitment, then that becomes a hill that you have to climb. a circumstance you have to overcome for whatever reason, even if you have good reasons or whatever. You only have one commit right now. You know what I mean? Like nobody else wants to. You don't have that Duke Johnson. Okay, maybe it's not even Duke Johnson because he was a 5-star. You don't have that diehard kid who's a high 3 or 4-star from home, and you push for him for a commitment. You can't even get that. You can't even get a couple of those. But you want me to hop in the boat, and you only got one guy who, it could become this thing. So do I think that it's like a real existential crisis at this moment? No, I don't. I would like to see, as things open up in a couple weeks, right? So we got the junior cookout on June 1st. You got the senior cookout on June 2nd. You got official visits starting the weekend of June 4th. You got other visits and things like that. I want to see positive movement. I want to see some commitments. I want to hear some chatter. I want to see those things happen for the University of Miami so that by the 4th of July weekend, so if we're calling that 4 full weeks from when things open up, I would like to see 5 commitments. Me. That's 1 a week for the 4 weeks of June, closing on a couple of guys. You're going to have a bunch of guys on campus for visits because they're starting to take these visits in June before they early enroll. So everybody's not waiting to the end of the process anymore, right? So 1 a week in terms of talent acquisition, in terms of what the rumors have been, what the chatter has been, what the GIF usage, and it's GIF, not GIF, miss me with that. The GIF usage by the coaching staff. Yeah, it's graphic. Good, yes. Good, not giraffic. You know what I mean? Anyway, even though there is a giraffe, but whatever. Graphic thing. So yeah, the GIFs, the staff seems to be hype behind the scenes of recruiting, right? So let's get some of that. Let's get these commitments and let's get this thing rolling, right? Where we have more than one. So I don't think it is a far-fetched idea to say, again, 1 per week average over the course of June to go into the 4th of July weekend, week time with 5 commitments or more in this class. Now, for me, if it gets towards fall camp in the middle, end of August, around or after my birthday, the international holiday known as August 17th, the most awesome day in the history of the world. We get around my birthday, and we got 1 or 2 commits, and you got camp coming up the next week, and you're 3 weeks out from Alabama. Again, still not an existential crisis, but a time and a circumstance that you really got to focus on. You really got to now have that conversation. So I think the time horizon still exists where Miami can move positively. There's still time to get guys going and get this momentum. You've already had a whiff with Isaiah Bond. You've already had some things change and reshuffle on the cycle and on the target list. But there's still enough time to move forward in a positive way. But for me, I would like to see that happening sooner than later.
Yeah, because you figure if a lot of these guys have all sorts of lists of 4 and 5 and 7 and 9, but I got to think that most of them are really looking at 3 to 4 schools. Of course, we're talking about hundreds of players, so there's all sorts of different mindsets and timelines, but a large portion of these guys, once we hit that first weekend, like you say, the first weekend in June, the big schools are going to be having their special weekends and their visitations and all that. And a lot of these guys, all they really need to see is the one that they're really want. They just want to get on campus and see it, and they'll be ready to. So we'll see those commitments roll in, week 2 of June and so forth. But I would think really, as you target late June into July, when a lot of these student athletes have been able to visit maybe 3 places, 4 places, those final 3 or 4 that they really wanted to see, then we'll see them start to roll in sometime in July.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And I mean, again, I think that the timeline makes sense because getting everything, just changing the whole story right up front, I don't think that is reasonable or possible. It's going to take more time. To the question that is still up there, what do I think of a Miami cornerback class this year? of Kamari Rogers. I had to look up his first name. Allen. What's his first name? Jacoby Spells is the third one. The Chris Graves kid. And I forget which Allen they're asking about. I forget his first name. Maybe they meant Alfonso. I don't know if they meant Alfonso Allen from Hallandale, who's committed to Arizona State or not. But that's a ridiculous class. That's a home run class. That's a grand slam class. That at cornerback is the kind of recruiting that Miami's not had in forever, with a 5-star in Kamari Rogers, Jacoby Spells from American Heritage, who was a wide receiver turned defensive back. He's a borderline 4-star guy. I know that you guys are going to hate on the name. I know it, because he didn't necessarily always live up to this. But Tracy Howard was a wide receiver turned cornerback. Had 1,000 yards in JV his freshman year, opposite of Malcolm Lewis. Then the coach went to him and said, "Hey, you have the skill set to play corner. You can work opposite your best friend instead of on the same opposite on the field, as in defense versus offense, instead of field and boundary side, and really make something." And he was the number 1 corner and a 5-star in the class. You have Jacoby Spells, who I don't know, he could be the number 1 corner in this class, but Jacoby Spells, who also is a track star, has athleticism to play here. Chris Graves, another track star, same high school as Malik Curtis, same team as Malik Curtis, but 2 or 3 inches taller. He's at 6'1", 6'2" with electric speed. Those 4 guys in this class at cornerback, you would be hard-pressed to find a reasonable scenario of what the rest of the class would need to be for me not to take that. You know what I mean? It would take the sky fell and this, so you get these 4 guys, but the dregs of the earth and the little sisters of the poor are the rest of your recruiting class. It would have to take something like that. But with a Miami caliber class, including those 4 guys, sign me up right now on May the 18th, 2021 for December, whatever. Give me those 4 guys within a Miami caliber class with the requisite 4 and 5-star blue chip talent and the projectable 3 stars that we will get. Sign me up.